Welcome to the podcast. I want to introduce you to someone who I just so am certain you're going to learn stuff from. Okay, his name's Paul Wright, Wright. Paul, you are there for allied health, but all the principles that you show people are so valuable for anyone in NDIS world. Paul, what is it you actually do and what is it you teach people?
Oh, in a nutshell, my tagline, I help health professionals and health business owners earn more, work less, and enjoy their lives because we didn't learn how to do that at university when we studied to be a health professional. And I was one of them. I didn't learn it either. I learned the hard way.
I get that. And so you went to uni, you came out of uni, you ended up with a bunch of practices that you owned, and then now you train others. What's been the journey so that people who they've got one practice and they're like, man, this is hard. This is as big as I'm ever going to get. How do we expand people's minds a bit there?
I was very lucky, mate. I was fortunate in the fact my early career, I was a phys ed teacher before becoming a physio, and part of that involved a lot of fitness training. I was in gyms a lot. So I was lecturing for the fitness industry in Australia, teaching personal trainers how to be personal trainers back in those days. And in those days that you'd go to a fitness conference, Michael, and there was a huge business strand. You'd go to a 5 of different fitness conferences and there's always business, personal training, selling memberships. And I gravitated to the business strand a lot. So I do my lecture, but then I go and hang around the business thing. And in those days, Michael, in the physio, chiro, osteopodiatry world, there was no business training for us. You go to a conference and it was about knees, backs, and shoulders. So I would cut my teeth in the fitness industry business strand. And then it was only when I read Michael Gerber's E-Myth book 20 plus years ago, which is a good read for anyone who hasn't read it. And I was running my practice, single practice at that time, and I was doing exactly what Gerber talks about. I was doing everything. I was answering the phone. I was vacuuming the floor. I was everything. And it was only when I read Gerber's book and realized, hang on, I've had an entrepreneurial seizure myself, which is what Gerber talks about. I thought, I'll run my own business so I can do it my way and end up doing everything and hating it. So Gerber got me interested in this systemization approach. So I started to systemize the practices, running them like you guys should do, like a franchise prototype. It's the test model you're going to use to then replicate, which is what I did. I started moving myself out of all of the roles. I stopped consulting to a large extent. I was focusing on the things that I had bigger impact in, which was marketing, recruitment, team training, and ended up having 6 of them. I then expanded them to having 6 locations. And I think that was the lesson, to realize you get one going well and then you replicate it, and that's how you scale. And then I started teaching other professionals how I did it. They wondered, Righty, how come you're never at your business? How come you got 6 clinics and you don't see any patients? How come you're at this kid's school concerts all the time? I think I told you this when we first met. My daughter's primary school teacher once pulled me aside and said, Paul, I got to ask you this. Are you a drug dealer? What were you talking about? He said, you're at everything. You're at every conference, every school carnival, every school thing. You're here. What do you do? I'm a business owner. And that's how this whole thing started. I sold my practices, wanted to help more people, and that led to practiceology, which is how we teach owners how to do it. And that's been the model, mate, for the last 15, 20 years.
I think it's fantastic. And I understand your journey a bit because in a previous business I ran, it was a tutoring business. I had one tutoring location and then I end up with 6 and then end up with 9. But that first one's the hard one. And then the second one's also hard because you're still trying to be in both places at once. And then after that, you just give up and then you just trust people and give them ways of doing stuff.
Yeah. What would happen if I wasn't here? And I got to the point, Michael, where they wouldn't even, the team, well, I didn't have a mobile phone in those days anyway. I didn't want it. Well, they were available, but I didn't want one. And I wanted them to solve things for themselves. I'd go overseas for 6, 8 weeks a year with the family. We'd go on these tours and stuff. And I'd say, here's my holiday email address, a specific account we set up just for holidays. If anything happens and you really need me, email me there. Well, nothing ever happened. What was going to happen? And they were under strict instructions. I want to know if the place burns down. But other than that, there's nothing I could do. You guys will fix it. And one of my good friends, Paul Goff, says a lot in his trainings for health business owners. if a team member asks you a question, you don't answer the question. Your reply is always, okay, what would you do if I wasn't here? And if you reply with that enough, they'll stop asking you because they'll say, he's only going to say, what will I do anyway? And I'll do it. And he'll go, yeah, that's okay. So what's the point of asking? And it gets to the point where they don't ask. But unfortunately, a lot of owners of practices, I think subconsciously, Michael, they get a lot of self-worth from being the go-to person. They want to feel important. I never wanted to feel like that. I want to feel redundant. I want to feel inconsequential to the business. And I walked into one of my practices once with my daughter. She was about 12 at that stage, one of my daughters. And and this clinic was inside a Fitness First gym. And I couldn't get through the door of the gym. They wouldn't let me in because they didn't know who I was.
And awesome.
And I thought it was fantastic. I thought this is exactly, and my daughter's saying that's terrible. I said, darling, it's fantastic. And I talked my way in. I had to get the physio come down to get me. Now, this is Paul. He actually owns a practice. Oh, no worries. But I knew then that I was doing it right when you get to that point. And I hope that lesson sort of went through to the kids of the topics. They'd hang around and see all this going on. And I was at everything. And one of my youngest daughter, she was a very good gymnast. And I spent a lot of time in the car with her, driving to things. And we'd always be listening to business things in the car. And she's about 14 at this stage. And she says, Dad, do you always have to listen to this business stuff in the car? I said, darling, we don't, but that's why you've been to Disneyland 10 times. What do you want to do? And she sat there, keep listening, Dad. Oh, and darling.
That is quality.
My beautiful wife, Helen, sometimes gets worried that she says, you've taught the girls a bad work ethic. I said, what do you mean? I said, well, you've taught them that you're at everything, but you still make good money. So it's not a bad work ethic. That's just working smart. That's being, okay, just how you look at it. I mean, the role of your business, if you have a business out there listening to this, the role of your business is to give you more life. That's the role of your business. And if it's not doing that, it's taking it away from you. And it's got to be worth it. It's got to be worth the pain. Owning a practice and a business is tough. You've got staff issues, you've got recruitment, marketing, you've got all the things going on. And I find one of the biggest reasons for business owner burnout is that they don't take advantage of the benefits of owning a business. Helen and I, for example, we had date day every Friday from the time I started my business. I never did anything on Friday. It was always date day. So we'd go to the movies, we'd go to lunch, we'd do whatever. But I could only do that because I had the business. I was getting something back for being a business owner. So I'd handle that because, at least I get Fridays with Helen. Whereas if you're an employee, you don't have that luxury. So it's got to give you something back, Michael. Otherwise, it'll drain you because there's a lot in running a business, as everyone knows. It's a big deal unless it gives you something back. Freedom of time and freedom of money are the big drivers that fill your tank so when stuff happens at work, you can tolerate it. And we do that with our clients all the time. What's the benefit you get from being an owner? That's why you do it. Put up with this rubbish because that's why you do it. That's why you get the freedom. That's why you just went on holidays for 4 weeks. That's why you get paid when you're not there. Otherwise, it'll kill you.
It's a trade-off. And it has to be a trade-off that's worth it.
Yeah.
So what would you say to the business owner who they've got one practice and they're not earning as much as their best employee and they've been doing this for 5 years? What would be your advice to them?
Most of our clients, when we do an audit of their practice, we realize either their fees aren't right, the structure of their billing time isn't right. You do it with NDIS. Like, what are you billing for, and what's your hourly worth? The other thing I look at most owners is and I just highly encourage you to do this. Do a time audit. What are you spending your time on, and work out an hourly rate that you get at your highest level. So what's the highest hourly rate you get, whether it's treating a high level client or is that the highest level? Let's say you make $100 an hour, $150 an hour, $200 an hour doing that. Then go back to your time diary and are there any jobs in there that you're doing that are less than $200 an hour? Are you checking emails? Are you answering the phone? Are you vacuuming the floor? What's your highest value worth? And then what we then try and do, Michael, is you look at where the efficiencies are, you look at where the holes are in the bucket. And it's a lot of times it's follow-up, Michael. There's missed opportunities from someone that's dropped out of care or cancelled, didn't follow up, has no future bookings. You look at the structure of their diaries, where the patients are going. You can fix a lot of inefficiencies in business when you get into it and make some decisions about it. And then you look at, well, do I need another team member? Can I drop myself back? And even if you make the same money, Michael, let's say you make the same money as your therapist, your best therapist as an owner, but you're only seeing patients or at the practice for 15, 20 hours a week. That's a fair trade-off. So, I did that through the whole of my physio career, Michael. I could have made more money. I could have had a full list of patients. I could have traveled, not big note to myself, but I could have done a lot more speaking in different conferences and other things. But I didn't want to. I didn't want to be away from the family. So what's the trade-off? I'll make a bit less money, but I'm there for the kids. That's a fair trade-off. But if you're not doing that analysis, you're trading your time for dollars and you're just giving it away, and you're missing too many things. This isn't a guilt play. I don't want it to be a guilt play. I've got one of my favorite pictures is when my youngest daughter first day of school. She got a little 5-year-old school bag over her shoulder. And I remember that day like it was yesterday. And it's, 25 years ago. You can't put a monetary value on your family time. And it's a ridiculous thing to do. Like I speak to owners and they say, I'd like to go to my daughter's carnival, sports carnival, but I've got patients booked in and I've really got to see those patients. Otherwise I'll lose $500. And I just shake my head. You're not going to remember the $500. You won't remember the patients, but you remember your daughter coming last in the running race and cuddling her afterwards and having fun. Like, this isn't a guilt trip play, but it's what's your business doing for you, and it should be helping you earn more, work less, and enjoy life. Otherwise, it's taken away. And never, ever put a monetary value on your family time. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Just don't get caught up in it.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is you've got to know when you've hit the point of enough. For some people, if they've got a massive mortgage, enough might be they need to earn 200K. For other people, enough might be whatever is enough for them. For me, I could earn money as a school teacher and have way less responsibility on me. For me, enough is, am I earning a school teacher's wage? But anything above that, it's like, for what? Like, what's going on in your head when I say, I've got enough?
Well, you work it out. What's your life look like? What's the price of trading off your life for business? It's just, that's why. But you got to go back to, Michael, why are you in business in the first place? Go back to what's the real reason. And you're a teacher. I was a teacher as well. So I was a phys ed teacher initially, or trained to be a phys ed teacher. And I remember getting the approval to study physio. So I sat on Newcastle Beach and I'm thinking, okay, I'm a qualified PE teacher. Do I be a teacher? I'd like the holidays, 9 till 3. I'd be good at it, and I was good at it. But I looked at this physio acceptance and I thought, okay. And I don't think I knew it at that time, but I think looking back on it, I thought I could probably work for myself as a physio. I don't think I knew it then, but it wasn't until I got further down the track that I realized, hang on, I can run a business that does this, which then led me on my path, which I maybe couldn't have done as a teacher. So maybe I had an entrepreneurial kind of streak anyway, but I then made sure that it served me well in terms of spending time with my family. And the time I set up my business was when I decided I want the business to serve me. It's my slave, not the other way around. Otherwise I'll sell it and just get a job.
Yeah.
Because that's easier than running a business.
Yeah, I've copped a lot of hate in the last couple of months because in my world, NDIS world, the profit margins are just getting smaller.
Yeah.
And I've been saying proactively to every man his dog, if you're not making more money to make this worth it, don't be here. You are sacrificing your kids' enjoyment of you. Why are you here? And to have you be saying, hey, like your business should be serving you. In NDIS world, they don't talk about that because it's almost taboo. But it's like, look at your kids. So you've got 4 grown daughters now. What has been the result or the fruit or the payoff of all that you've done instead of just going and earning money?
Well, they all tolerate me. So, so now at least I've got a relationship with all my daughters, and my beautiful wife Helen. We've been married 30+ years. I probably think my legacy is my relationships and how well they've stood the test of businesses. Because a lot of relationships and families don't make it through business purgatory. They just
Not
don't.
an easy spot to be in.
Yeah, I always, and my relationship with Helen always came first. The kids came second, and the business was way down the track. And the legacy, I think, is that I've still made enough money that I can help the kids, and that we're still around. It's the relationships you build, and I think there's a lesson there in that. And again, this is hard to deliver because business owners are caught up in the business thing, but when you've only got to have something happen, and I don't want this to happen to you guys, but if something happens, all of a sudden the business becomes irrelevant. My daughter,
That is so
my youngest my youngest daughter she just had a little grandson, so he's 10 months old. When he was in her tummy, she had a car accident, and I got the phone call. So Paris had been in a car accident, and all of a sudden, if there had been anything happening in the business, it's irrelevant. None of it matters. Get to the accident scene, make sure Paris was okay, and lucky everyone was fine. So it was worked out well. But a lot of people aren't that lucky. But don't wait for that stuff. Don't wait to realize it doesn't matter. Know that it doesn't actually really matter. It's just stuff you do to give you money, to give you life and time with your family and friends. That's really all that matters. And one thing I learned this, I don't learn it. I just found out about it. There's no such thing as quality time with your family. People say I'm going to have some quality time with the kids. No, family time is quantity time. What I mean by that, I'm in my balcony in my house one time. My second eldest daughter was about, I don't know, she would have been 15 or 16. She came in, and Jade's not a crier. Like she's not an emotional sort of. She's very down the line. She comes in, said, "You okay, darling?" She had a look on her face. "You okay, darling?" And she just dissolved into tears. And I gave her a cuddle, and she's like, "What's going on, darling?" "Oh, it's okay, Dad. I'm all right now." And she took off. Now, I couldn't have planned that. I couldn't have scripted it. And Jade, when have it here, because that's when I'm free between patients. I was around, and that stuff happens. Which the lesson for us is family time. It's quantity time. Things just happen because you're hanging or you're available. Or so the kids say now, "Dad, can you come and help me with Cruz, the grandson?" "Sure, I'll drop everything in a heartbeat." "Dad, can you drive us to Sydney to the airport?" "Sure." You just drop it because that's what the drive in the car, the hour or two, you might get that back. I'll reschedule the podcast. Because I'll do that because that's the stuff that I'll remember. No disrespect, humor. Love your podcast. Love a session. But if Paris had her ring this morning, it said, "Dad, I need you to look after Cruz," I'm there.
because you know what your life's about. You're not torn between multiple competing values. For you, like, my value is my time with my family.
Yeah. Yeah. And that I've interviewed lots of people in that, Michael, and the biggest reason for burnout and business stress for owners is there's an imbalance between their values and what they're living. They value family and they value quality and all that stuff, relationships, but then you look at their weekly diary, how's it balancing out? And that's the biggest cause for burnout and anxiety and stress amongst practice owners.
And
Now, I know it's the
and
and
kids who don't even know you.
Yeah, and it's easy sitting in the golden chair, having done it for 30 years. I think I've got the easiest chair in the place at the moment because I just sit in my golden chair. I come here when I want, and I help health business owners do that. But they're the ones that have the practices. They're hiring, they're firing, they're dealing with regulations changing. It's not an easy gig, but you've got to at least take some perspective out of it and think, well, what I'm doing is not working at the moment. Are there options? And sometimes there aren't, Michael. I've closed practices. I've had practice and I just shut them because it just wasn't worth it for me. It was too much of a hassle. So I've shut it. And I'm not being disrespectful to NDIS stuff, but I was very fortunate early, and I've seen all the chatter about travel allowances and NDIS and everything else. And I goes back to what I learned 20 plus years ago. And one of my mentors told me very early, Paul, be very wary about going into a business where someone else controls your fees. Said it very clearly. Be very wary of going into a business where someone else controls your fees. And I remember sitting on that, didn't really get it at the time. A couple of weeks later, I got a letter from a private health fund talking about preferred provider schemes. Oh, we'll send you all this work, but you can only charge $60 or $50 per consult. What do you think? And I remember looking at that letter with my mentor's words in my ear, and I laughed and threw it in the bin. It's got to be joking. I want to charge what I want to charge. But unfortunately, what's happened to a lot of providers currently, and I've been very wary about putting this out into the portals and other things. It's very upsetting to people. You're running a business where someone else controls your fees, and that's a problem because they'll change it at the drop of a hat, whether it's home care packages, insurance companies, NDIS. It doesn't know who they are. We've seen it in America, USA, Canada, New Zealand. We've seen it around the world. You've got to work out what service and value do I deliver to the public and try and take it out of the realm where someone else controls what you charge. And there's ways to do that, but it's possibly harder work. And I think a lot of people got seduced into insurance work and vets affairs and NDIS and other things because it was not disrespectful, it was easier.
It is a lot easier to persuade people to pay you when it's not their money. But then, guess what? Yeah, what you're saying though is then suddenly everything becomes like this level playing field where everyone's charging the same amount. But then, I mean, what if your skill set's through the roof? Why would you charge a baseline level when you've got a through the roof skill set and you're saying you become trapped? How do people break out of that?
I'll tell you exactly why they do it, because it's easier. It's harder to market yourself as an expert. It's harder to market the unique selling proposition of your practice. Like I could be the migraine expert, Michael, but I'll be getting a lot of this insurance work or other stuff it's low hanging fruit. It comes to me pretty easily and I don't have to work too hard to get it. So that's seductive, but and that's okay if you do that, but you understand you're running a risk here. You're running the risk. If this changes up here, then I'm at risk. And another one of my mentors told me years ago, the most dangerous number in the business is the number one, which means one referral source, one major income stream, one major referrer, one therapist. Because if anything happens, you're in trouble. So if you're getting a lot of your work primarily from NDIS, if that's your big thing, and then all of a sudden they change the model, you're scrambling because you're over-reliant on one of anything. So I've got multiple clients, multiple income streams, multiple things that happen. So if this goes down, this still keeps going. And that's okay in hindsight, but you've almost had to kick up the arse, Michael. Think, well, it's not going to get any better. It's going to get worse.
It's just
so you've got.
Imagine if you're in accommodation right now or something else.
Yep.
You need to see that's coming over the horizon. How do you adapt now? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, and that means, well, what is my skill set? And the way to address it, Michael, I always go from a problem up approach. What's the big problem you solve? Now look at this. We talked before about the AI summit. So I'm running an AI summit for health professionals. I don't love AI. I'm not a techie. I'm not interested, but I was only interested because the market wanted it. So you've got to identify what the market wants. What's the market need? What does the community in your area, what are they crying out for? What are they saying to you? I wish someone would just do this. And once you identify that, then your job is to craft an offering that serves that. So I didn't know if being a health business coach was going to stand up. So I ran some seminars early and the room's filled. Okay, well, the market must want this. How about I do another course? So I then built it because the market wanted it. And there's a lesson in business, Michael. You fall in love with the problem. You fall in love with the market. Don't fall in love with what you do. Don't fall in love with your product. We fall in love with being a physio, a chiro, an osteopath. We fall in love with our service. The market doesn't care what we want. Your job is to find out what's the market want. And if they need a home delivery treatment program for this specific condition, then you go private and you produce that. If you're the expert in it, that's what you push. If the market wants it, and if it's good enough and solves a problem that's desperate enough, they'll pay whatever you want to charge, because it's going to solve a problem for them.
And you've also become the one provider who can provide that one thing. Charge what you want, and
you're a commodity. Look at what's happening at the moment. The commoditization of healthcare. We are, and this is as sad as it's true. Our universities, our governments, even our users, even our patients want to commoditize us. They want us to they want to know what, because once we start getting too unique, it's confusing for them, and they then have to make some decisions. So everyone wants us to be the same, but you've got to fight that like anything. You've got to fight it to stand out in the marketplace. We run a unique service. We provide home care service for these sort of patients with this condition, and we do it better than anyone with this sort of package. And you call it something. It's the Regain Your Life with whatever program. You call it something, because then you're not selling physio, chiro, osteopodiatry. You're selling a solution to a problem. The Better Back program, we had that. The Run Your Marathon Pain-Free program. We're not selling physio, chiro, orthotics. We're selling a solution. And once you start doing that, Michael, you can charge whatever you want for it, as long as the market wants it, if there's enough demand for it. I read a book once by a speech pathologist who was really worried about opening a speech pathology practice because there was a public hospital next door delivering exactly the same service for free. And he said, why would they charge to see me when they're free across the road? I said, it's not free across the road. What do you mean? There's no freedom of who they see. There's no freedom of the times they get. There's no freedom of what program they deliver. There's a lot of costs to a free treatment. They're probably getting underserviced because there's not enough people to look after them. So there's a poor outcome. Look at the NHS in the UK. Classic example of underserviced healthcare. So it's not free. You get less treatment, less experienced therapist, someone who's not as good as you. That has a cost. He opens his private service charging top dollar across the road, and it goes gangbusters. Because everyone said across the road, I had to wait too long. I couldn't get in. They only saw me infrequently. I saw a junior therapist. That was costly. It just wasn't money. It was a different fee.
That's remarkable.
Paying with results.
Because his niche was effectively, I'll give you quality consistently. Whereas across the road, you got intermittent quality. Yeah. It's like
and underservicing and poor results and waiting lists but people aren't price sensitive, Michael. They're value sensitive. I'm getting value for is it value that I'm getting? And that's, and we get seduced into thinking people decide on price. They don't. They decide on value. You decide what you think it's worth for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think people could learn so many business skills from you. By the way, I loved reading your book, How to Run a 1-Minute Practice. I have so many questions about you with that, but none of that matters. What matters to me is what you're saying of you run a business so you can have your life back, so you can be you can be there for your wife, you can be there for your kids. It's like, what would you say to someone who insists on staying within NDIS with regulated pricing and therefore has thin margins, who says, but I can't? You always can. What that means is I haven't found a way. But what would you say to someone who's like, no, I'm stuck in this. I'm not earning that much. My business feels generic because I have to be so price conscious. I have to have average staff because I can't afford the good ones. What would you say to someone who actually is doing that at the cost of their family?
Well, my head, if I was, because I did this a lot with clients and we're talking back and forth, my head went to why. Why are you doing that? What's the benefit to you for doing that? Maybe the person's a martyr, Michael, and they want to be seen as contributing to the community, and we've got this and helping all these people, and that's fantastic. But it's a charity, not a business. Just accept that it's a charity. Don't think it's a business, because it's not. I'm very happy to do things for low price, but don't treat it as anything other than a charity. But then don't whinge that you're not home with your family. Don't whinge because you made a decision. You made a business decision to keep going with this model that's got fundamental flaws in it. Accept the decision. If not, it's going to kill you. But I can't tell you how many businesses I've closed. And we get clients through our program a lot, and we often consolidate their businesses. We close things. We look at the dogs. This is not working. We look at the team members. They're not working. You just don't want to tolerate things that aren't working. Otherwise, there's got to be a secondary reason. So I'd go into more, Michael, why you're still doing it then. What's the real reason? Because there might be a deeper reason of why they're doing it.
Yeah, and that deep reason's 90% of the time going to be, I don't want to have my staff not have a job. I don't want to let down people who are our clients, because people think that they think, oh, my staff can't get another job. I've wrapped up businesses and watched 90% of them get a new job within a month.
We just saw Ramsey shut 50 psychology practices last week. Like, well, your team. This is another hard thing, and I'm risk of being an old grump. Your team don't really give a shit about you. I'm sorry. You like to think they do, but they don't. You only listen to one radio station, WIIFM. What's in it for me? But it's sad, but it's true. Your therapist will find another job. In most cases, your patients will find another provider. And if not, there's nothing you can do about that. It's sad, but the economic circumstances have changed, and what worked before no longer works. So I'm not going to keep going. I'm not going to keep flogging this dead horse. I can't do it. And you've got to put yourself and your family first. And that's how I ran my businesses. My life comes first, and the family and the kids, that's always at the top. Everything else works around that. And if that's not fitting, then we don't do it. I've said to Ella multiple times, we can do this, darling, but I'd have to go for 2 weeks. So I don't know. No, don't do it. Okay. This was never worth it. Never was. But you got to work out what's the real reason. And the other thing, Michael, I finished my uni course. I finished my second uni course, my physio course. And I was about to get a job as a physio. And my uncle said to me, what are you going to do now? I said, Uncle, I think I'm going to join the fire brigade. Why would you do that? Uncle, you don't understand. 2 days, 2 nights, 4 days off. It's brilliant. He just shakes his head and walks off. You went to university for 7.5 years. Now you want to be a fireman? Because I knew what I wanted for my life. And if my business could help me do that, great. If not, I'd find something else. You just got to work out what's your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? Why did you start your business in the first place? The other thing, people will think, oh, but I've spent 20 years, 10 years building this business up, and just to shut it or to scale it down, it just doesn't seem right.
Oh, that's fear of looking bad. And we all
fear. Yeah. Mate, I can't tell you how many businesses I've shut just because they weren't working, and I shut them early. There's an expression in business, Michael, pay once, cry once. You just pay, get out of it, because there's an thing that we don't see. Let's say I've got a bit of a dog of a business at the moment. I've been doing it for 10 years and the circumstances have changed, and now it's no longer sustainable as in the current model. Probably speaking to a lot of you guys out there at the moment. So you'll hang on, you'll change it, you'll hang on for another couple of years, even though the writing's on the wall, it's not going to work.
So you'll hope with no foundation.
Hold on to hope. But so you're now 2 years down the track. And you're no better off. You've just had 2 years of pain. My question to you is, what would you have done in that 2 years if you got out 2 years ago? See, we're talking about opportunity cost. What's the opportunity cost that I'm paying by not opening up new doors? Where will I be if I shut that, looked at the model, fixed it, did a new version that worked in the current climate? 2 years down the track, where am I? See, what's the opportunity cost of hanging on to something that's not working? You got to pay off that all the time. I'm a big fan of opportunity cost. You close something opens up. Your head becomes free to look at other opportunities. I sold my 6 practices. Helen still has a go at me about it. We sold our 6 practices and they were making really good money. Why'd you sell them? Because it was keeping my head in the space here that I thought there were better opportunities. So I sold that, which opened up my brain to other things. And I started the business mentoring, and then I could have, like I mentioned to you, I could have 1,000 members in our program. There was no ceiling on my business once I went online and went that, whereas the current practice had 6 locations, so many rooms, so many therapists. It had limitations. I could have kept it, but the opportunity cost, it would have taken me time to run it, but I could have invested into the new venture that paid off exponentially more. So opportunity cost, what's your current business going to cost you in the next couple of years, not just in time, money, and pain, but in terms of what missed opportunities you have. And I'm not telling you just to shut your business, but look seriously at what you're doing and how you're doing it. Is the model sustainable currently? What tweaks can I make to make it better? If there aren't any, go back to the market. Okay, what's the current problem that everyone has? Have I got a solution for it? Great, go down that path. 2 key drivers of any successful business: available market and available labor. Is there enough people that want the service that you're delivering? Available market. And can I staff it when I do it? Is there enough available labor to do it?
Wow.
Get those 2 things right, and you are in business, which is why McDonald's works. Why does McDonald's
summed
work?
up like the question 100 people ask in here's your answer, that and that. If you got that, you got a business. And right now, and I guess and willingness to like that, the people who want to buy from you must be able to pay what you're worth. And that's where NDIS is breaking right now. Just think what you're saying is remarkable. Like Paul Wright, I officially christen you the Paul Bryan of Allied Health. Okay, what he is to NDIS, you are to Allied Health. It's been so good having you on this today. How does someone get in touch with you, Paul?
Website, mypracticeology.com is where you go. So mypracticeology.com. You can book to have a chat with me. If you're interested in what we're talking about, you can go there. I'm big on LinkedIn, which you know. Head to Paul Wright, Newcastle, Australia, on LinkedIn. Reach out, have a chat. I'd love to help you and see if we can help what you're doing. But I hope that was useful.
It was, and you have so many resources that people can benefit from that are just off the charts. So thank you for your time, Paul. I look forward to chatting with you again another time.
Looking forward to it, mate. Thanks for having me.